Hello, my name is Rich Howard, owner of Architectural Builder Supply, and this video is to bring you a closer look at the Adams Rite number 4190-09-01-130-01-IB. It's a lot of part number for a lock set, but I think by the end of the video, we'll appreciate the structure of that part number as it pertains to getting the right item. Let's get into this piece of hardware right now. Adams Rite is a comprehensive manufacturer of lots of different things that are hardware related, and many of those items involve aluminum storefront doors, electric strikes, exit devices, lock sets. But they also manufacture material for sliding doors as well, and that's where your 4190 series, 4189, 4190 series locks come into play. Now, if you're looking at this video, you likely have a sliding door lock, and you likely know that it's by Adams Rite. And we're going to dissect what this lock is at this time. And we're going to start with a visual tour, a dimensional tour of the item. But first of all, they make two different series of these. They're basically identical, except that they're significantly different in the sense that if you have metal trim, then you're looking at the right material. If you have a die-cast metal trim, okay, you're looking at the 4190 series. If your trim is plastic, this is the wrong lock. You want the 4430 series. Different set of products, different video. Anyway, that's the first fork in the road, so to speak. Now, the 4190 series is a sliding door lock set available in different functions and also available in different finishes to accommodate different thicknesses and different preps of doors. And all of that conspires to build the part number of the item that you're looking for ultimately. So first of all, the 4190 is that sliding door lock set. And that doesn't tell us really anything about it except that it's going to have a keyed function. So you could very simply have, this lock without a cylinder on the outside as well, which would be a 4189 versus rather than a 4190. But if you have a cylinder lock, you're going to certainly have a 4189 series. And really what's best to do at this point, or immediately after I take some dimensional properties for you, is to begin to dissect the part number. Let's go over that now. Let's go over the dimensional properties. The overall height of the exterior trim is about 8 7/8, 8 13/16 maybe. A width of that trim going to be about 1 1/4 inches. Let's do a visual tour of the exterior. You'll have that recessed finger handhold with that cylinder, the tailpiece on the back that's going to communicate properly to the lock set, the rest of the connecting lock set information, specifically a tailpiece coming off of the back of the interior trim. A couple of areas where the screws will go into through the interior trim. And speaking of that interior trim, let's take a look at it now. Here it is. Again, metal die-cast property. You're going to have both a pin and your tailpiece. The cam on the back of the cylinder basically is what drives that pin up and down. This tailpiece communicates with the hub in the lock body, which is what allows the unit to lock and unlock by throwing the tailpiece from the locked and unlocked position. So that pin is necessary when you have this series of lock with an exterior cylinder. And basically that knob is what is going to drive the lock from being locked and unlocked, and then from unlocked to locked. Okay, that's how that's going to work. Very often people will call us up and they will say that they have a part number, and then they'll give us the part number. And what I mean by that is, you'll notice the casting has HE0066. We know what that is in terms of, we know what that number means. That means that it's a casting. It doesn't tell us everything we need to know about the lock. So if you're looking at this thinking, I found it, you're close. You're a third of the way there. Well, you're 25% of the way there, but that's good information to know. We need to know more information, which we'll get into. Casting information on the interior is not on this unit, but it does give its part number, 23-0065. That's what we're seeing there. Yeah, indeed, 23-0065. Now that's a good part number for the outside, and tells us almost everything, tells us half of what we need to know in order to supply you with the correct item. The lock set. Let's do a visual and dimensional tour of the lock body itself. That's what this looks like, and this is buried in that part number. Okay. Overall height of the faceplate of the lock, it's about 3 1/8. Overall width of the face of the lock, it's about 1/2 inch. Okay. Overall height of the mounting tabs, it's about 4 inch. Overall depth, about 1 1/8 inches. And then that hook bolt that comes out, it's going to get us to about 9/16 of an inch, maybe 5/8. Okay. All of this is detailed in the part number as well, and there is part of the part number that tells us a lot about this. Finally, you will get screws. 2 long screws for the interior escutcheon to the back side of the exterior, and the 2 short screws to mount that lock body to the edge of the door. Now, there is information down below this video that is the extended description of the product, and we're going to go over it quickly, and then we're going to start to dissect the part number. 4190 means that it has an exterior cylinder, and the 09 in the part number means that the lock body has a radius, that it's for a thickness of door from 1 inch to 1 3/8, and that it is in a 130 finish, which is your sprayed aluminum type color. The IB in the part number means individually boxed, and then the rest of all of the data there is information that you can review on your own. You don't need me to go through that with you. The next part of this video is going to be spent dissecting the part number. Okay, now getting into dissecting that part number, there are links down below this video, and let's get into the link that is called template. It'd be better to call that a cut sheet because that's really what it is. It's a link to what the tear sheet would look like of the manufacturer's catalog. Much of the data that we've already discussed is on page 1, except that what we're going to add is to state that the 4189, which we'll define, and the 4190 lock sets allow doors to slide freely past other sliding units or stationary panels, as there are no projecting handles to tear draperies or prevent the door from being stacked in a wall pocket. The 4190 has a flush-mounted cylinder outside, and this lock installation is not recommended for wood doors, and that's because of the way that it is attached to the door. The hardware is really not intended to be put down onto a wood door based on how you would mortise it. You need to depend on a hollow tube style channel of an aluminum type door construction to make this work. Operation. This lock set is operated from the inside by a simple up or down movement of a slide button, set flush in the deeply recessed finger pull. The lock mechanism, latching action, unavailable, meaning this lock cannot be made self-latching. There are others that can. This is a time-tested and field-proven Adams Rite lock body, the MS-1847, which is used in other locks as well. Features the adjustable self-protecting bolt. And what that means is that the screw that is here, once this is thrown, can be drawn in and out. And let's demonstrate that right now. What I have here is the lock thrown and a screwdriver, and we're going to turn that clockwise And hopefully you'll see how that bolt continues to project out further from the edge of the door. Certainly you can start to see, I would think, how much that gap in here has opened up. And what that will allow you to do is to make a final adjustments to the installation so that when you get the door in the closed position, you can reduce how much play there is in the door when it's in the hooked and locked position. That covers everything on page 1 that I want to cover. You can review the rest if you like. Now, the bottom left of page 2, here's where the part number dissection begins. 4189 is the lock without an exterior cylinder. So if there's no cylinder on the outside, your part number, and what we're doing now is we're building your part number, will be 4189. If there is a cylinder, it'll start with a 4190, and if there is no interior thumb turn at all, or slide knob, and there is no exterior cylinder, and this is the inactive side of a pair of biparting doors, let's say, where you just have a dummy here to visually match the other door, then it'll be a 4195. The next set of numbers directly relate to the lock face. Please take note, that's radius or round. If that preparation in your door was square, it would be a -10. The absence of the letter S afterwards tells us that this is going to be zinc. If you wanted this to be in a stainless brushed finish, make it an S. So this is an 09, as you can see. If it was stainless, it would be an 09S. If it was square, it would either be a 10 or a 10S. The next set of part numbers in this lock that we're looking at is an 09. The next set of numbers is the stile thickness, meaning not how wide is the stile, but how thick is the door. Inch to inch and 3/8 is the most common size. But that doesn't mean that's the one you have, so you have to measure it. It is the most common. And that's going to relate to a number of things. First of all, the length of this tailpiece, the length of the pin, the length of the screws that are included to get it all secured together. You could order the longest one, but I would expect the possibility of having to cut this down and cut this down and cut those screws down as well. You don't want to do that. Admittedly, it's difficult sometimes on clients because they'll say, I need the lock. Okay, are you at the door right now? No, it's on my boat, and my boat's in another state. The problem is we have to know the thickness, and we have to know this answer as well. Okay? You can tell me if there's a key on the outside or not, but the other two pieces of data we have to have. Moving on, the 130, that's the finish. Sprayed aluminum in this case. You can do a 121, which is a dark bronze, or a 119, which would be black. Black is probably the most common, followed by the 130 finish and then the 121. After that would refer to any keying that you wanted done. For instance, if you were doing 2 of these and you wanted them keyed alike, you would change the 01 to an 02, and that would make the keys that come with all operate each other. So you'd have 4 keys, 2 locks, keyed alike. If you're buying one, of course it would be a -01 in that space. And finally, the IB just simply means that when it's shipped to you, it's in an individual box. They refer to the packaging type. So the most important thing is, what's the function? How thick is the door? And what does the edge of that lock body look like, rounded or square, if you're doing a replacement? Now, having run through the part number, you can also see on page 2 that there's an optional 4413 series pole. I would say for every 200 of these locks we sell, we may sell one of those poles. There is a pole available for the plastic version as well, the 4430. The size of the holes for the different poles are not compatible, so order the pole for the zinc sliding door lock and order the pole for the plastic sliding door lock as it pertains to your requirements. So that is the link to what is currently called template. Then there's a link to the installation instructions, and really all that is are dimensional properties as to what you have to prep the holes for that we have not covered. And if you're doing a new installation, you know, it's aluminum, so you're going to be able to cut that with a router, would be how I would think you'd want to do it. and you've got your preparation at 8 9/16 roughly, or pardon me, 8 5/8 roughly, not exactly, but 8.656, and then an inch, basically an inch and a 16th wide. The important thing to know is where's the prep in the edge of the door in relationship to the prep in the face of the door. And the dimension they're giving you is from the center line of this hole up 1.453 inch to the top of the prep for the trim. So from the center line of this hole to the top of the prep for this, that's where you're going to be 1.45 inch, somewhere in that sort of range. Okay. And these mounting tabs are, of course, you drill a hole through the door, slightly countersink it, and then attach it with the two screws, the two very short screws that are included. And that prep on the face of the door is on both sides. Very typical and common. You know, again, you'll either do a round or a square prep if you're doing a new installation. Obviously, be mindful of where you're going to prep this in the field if it's a new installation, which is hardly the case, to where you're going to hook it into the jamb or the other door. So that's the installation instructions. That should be simple and straightforward. A router is what I would use. There's also a link to the parts diagram. Before we get to that, there's how to order deadlocks. That is a summarization of the entire catalog section of where these are located. No new information there is, unless you're just interested to know the other lock types. Now, back to the parts diagram. That link is probably, in my opinion, the most valuable link out of all of these. Why? I get clients that call me and say, I need a whole new lock. Why is that? I lost the keys. Does it work otherwise? Yeah, I just lost the keys. Okay, don't buy a whole new lock. Buy only the cylinder. And the cylinder part number is given there. And I very much encourage buying only what you need to make it work, because you can buy that cylinder, you can loosen that screw that's there, pull the old cylinder out, put the new one in, you're back in business. Okay? If for some reason you need the whole lock, well, obviously go with the whole lock. That's the cylinder. The exterior escutcheon part number is listed there as well, and it will be different based on what we're doing. Now, you'll notice that 230065 is on that casting, but that's actually not the part number that you need for this, because the 230065 would be for the 4189, which has no cylinder on the outside. The preparation for that must be a post-casting procedure that they do. So you would need to replace this, the 41-0943-1-XXX, those are the color. So 130 in this instance. The lock body is there as well. The interior escutcheon, you see lots of X's there. The 3 X's are, again, the finish, but the other 2 refer back to the template for the number for the thickness of the door. If you recall, there were 3 ranges or 3 possibilities of the thickness of the door as it pertained to the length of the tail pieces and the screws. That's where you will insert that code. So this lock would be a 41-0942-09-130 is what this one would be, right? 09 is for an inch and 3/8 door. I lied. It's an 01, forgive me. It's a 41-0942-01-130. That's this exact part number that we have literally right here. So if you needed only the interior, how thick is the door? What color? That's how you order it. That sums up everything to discuss regarding the 4190-09-01-130-01-IB series sliding door lock. And at the very end of this video is a reference to the manufacturer's page that can be reviewed below this video, where you will be able to click on that link, find not only all of the Adams Rite products that we sell, but also a link to the manufacturer's website, as well as a link to the full product catalog. But also on that page, you will find the link to the parts drawings, not only obviously including the one that we just reviewed here, but it's parts drawings for all of the published parts available for all the hardware that are published. Not every parts diagram is there, but lots of them are, for Adams Rite. That translates to being something important, because The availability of replacement parts allows you to continue to get useful service out of the significant investment in hardware. Maybe a $100 lock isn't such a big deal, but when you have a school and you have tens of thousands of dollars of panic devices or electric strikes on doors, you do need to depend on a company that does not force you to purchase new hardware because a solenoid is bad or you've lost the lock body. Coupled with the availability of the part numbers, added on to that exceptional technical support and customer service, Adams Rite is a name that you should absolutely consider when it comes to the specialty hardware that they supply. If you have any questions on the 4190-09-01 and a 130 finish or any other Adams Rite product, please feel free to reach out to us. And thank you.